We've been talking the last couple weeks about your dream, your purpose, reshaping it and forming it, and then getting started and how to finish and how to get through that messy middle. So this week we're going to be talking about time management. And so if you've got a dream in your heart, but the calendar feels completely maxed out, this week is for you. Okay. Because I know you're busy, and not in the like, I lost track on Instagram kind of way, but in the real kind, like the kind where you blink, it's dinner time and the laundry still isn't done kind of way. And that's a really busy life. And a lot of us in midlife, we still live this busy season. So even if that goal really still matters to you, you don't have the energy for the whole planner overhaul that it takes to build this dream, or some kind of fancy system that requires more time to just get started, to set it up and then get started, right? And I do love a good planner. So I'm not talking bad about them. I'm just saying sometimes we just don't have the energy to get that far. And so what you need are real life, doable ways to make time, and not time in the future or in the someday kind of space, but like right now, even in the middle of your completely already busy, messy life. And so here's the truth. We all get the same 24 hours, right? But today I'm going to show you how those high achievers appear to have more time in their day. And it's not because they've gone and hired a virtual assistant or mastered these color-coded time block systems, okay? Today I'm sharing practical time strategies that are going to actually work for busy women. And so we're talking about finding ways to fit in those things without burnout. And so how to manage your day in a way that supports your dream without draining you. And so let's go ahead and jump in and get started, and let's get your goal moving on your calendar. Okay. All right. So let's just call it like it is, though. Like when you've got a dream that's like burning in your heart, but your day is already full from the moment your feet hit the floor, getting out of bed, it can feel completely impossible to figure out where to put that goal in that dream. And the world will always tell you kind of the same things, right? Wake up early, time block your day, do a complete calendar reset, and let's just be completely real, right? Like if you had that margin and that mental energy to overhaul your calendar, you would have already done it, right? Because this really matters to you. And so here's what I have learned. It's not always about changing everything. It's about getting clear on what you're working with so that you can start making those intentional shifts right where you are. All right. So this week, that's why I'm asking you and inviting you to do something really simple but powerful, and that's to do a 48-hour time audit. Okay, and here's how it works. You're going to track what you're doing for the next 2 days, hour by hour, or I personally like to do it by 15 minutes because there are times where I will do things in a 15-minute increment and I really need to know where that time's going. But nothing really fancy, okay? Just grab a workbook that I created for you in the Facebook group, or put it in a notebook or in a note apps on your phone, whatever works for you. The goal here is just to write down when you're making things like your lunch, answering emails, scrolling on your phone, running errands, helping with homework, and I want you to be honest. The cool thing is nobody else is going to look at this but you, right? So there's no judgment here. So it's really important that you are honest. This is going to be a place where you're going to find a lot of clarity. So don't let shame get in your way and force you out of this opportunity for productivity. So the cool part is you're going to be partnering with God, right? To make room for what he's asked you to build and to do. So once you see where this time is actually going, you can start making these small changes that are going to open up space and time, and maybe even more energy and resources, okay? But I want to remind you that he's given you the vision. And so he's also going to help you steward your time in a way to make that happen, right? And so now that you're starting to kind of see where your time is really going after you've done this 48-hour audit, let's go ahead and talk about how you're going to use that to develop your time in a way that's done more wisely, right? One of the most powerful shifts that I have made is learning my rhythm. right? And learning how to work with it. So it's one thing to just know it, and it's another to actually work with it instead of against it. So for me, I know that by 2 p.m., my brain is gone. I'm tired. I've got nothing left in the tank to be creative for new ideas or decision making. And so here's what I do. I block out my mornings for the things that matter most, for that need for creative time where I need my brain to be fully intact. These are going to be those high energy, high impact tasks where I'm going to be doing my dream work, my writing, my strategic planning, right? So I want you to grab your audit and I want you to number these tasks with a number 1. And then after 2 p.m., I switch gears. I end up doing all the things and handling all the stuff that doesn't require as much from me energy wise or focus wise, but are still important. Things like doctor's appointments, necessary phone calls or emails, right? Like go ahead and number these with a number 2. All right. And then I move on to tasks that are still necessary, but can shift over into tomorrow if um, the day gets out of hand and it's not going to harm anything, right? These things are going to be like dishes and laundry. And so go ahead and number these with a number 3. And then the number 4 tasks, these are those bite-sized tasks that take less than 15 minutes to do. They're perfect when you're waiting, like in line or at carpool, while your water's boiling even in the kitchen, right? And so I keep this running list that I can refer to when I have scraps of time. You'd be kind of amazed how many scraps you have in a day that truly can add up. And you may find that you can get 4 or 5 of these little baby tasks done throughout the day. And so I want to be clear though, I'm not trying to convince you to become this like team 5 a.m. kind of person, right? So this is not about being a morning person or a night owl. It's about recognizing when you have the most mental bandwidth and emotional energy for the day. So putting your dream to work here, right? And in that place where you have the most to give. And so because for a long time I did what most of us like to do, right? I knocked out all the easy tasks first, and then that made me feel super productive. My to-do list kind of looked amazing because I had all these check marks. But here, guess what? Like the big stuff, the meaningful stuff, the things that actually matter towards my dream and goal, they were still sitting there completely untouched. And so here's why this happens. We chase that dopamine of that checked box, and instead of satisfaction of the progress on what actually matters. And so if you're finding yourself ending the day wondering like, where did all my time go? This is your chance to really fix that. And so you can ask yourself like, when am I naturally most focused or alert? And then ask like, what could I shift to make these hours more impactful? And then am I giving my dream the scraps of my day or the strength of my day? Right? Those are very important things to ask yourself. And again, I'm not asking you to like completely flip your entire routine overnight, right? I'm just asking you to notice your rhythm and your energy and where you have the most to give, right? Because awareness of that helps you start making different decisions. And once that happens, you're able to support that dream that you're building. And building something takes a lot of energy and focus, right? But by doing this, you're not necessarily tracking your time, you're shifting it into this flow state where all of your hours count, right? They count for the dream time, they count for your doctor's appointment time, they count towards the things like chores, it counts for all of it. And so when you get clear on what your body and your brain need at different times of the day, where your hormones are shifting, your circadian rhythm is different, you can stop wasting your peak moments on those things that make you feel productive and really start using them towards the things that are productive, where that purpose it gets progress. And so that's how you build momentum without burning out. Okay. And that's what a lot of high achievers do. So let me tell you something though that I wish I had realized sooner. If you don't prioritize your life, someone else will, right? They'll eat up all your time if you haven't decided what your life's going to be about. And so usually that someone else has a never ending to-do list. And so they're going to be dinging your phone, and there's always going to be an unexpected crisis where they need help, and it will hijack your afternoon, right? And so you see too many of us, we let that happen to our day. It happens to us all the time. We wake up, and before we've even gotten our coffee or our tea, we're already responding to other people's needs, their requests, and their agendas. But what if you started living in a way that it's on purpose instead of autopilot, right? That's also going to move you out of mundane, right? And here's the mindset shift that can completely change how you approach your day, right? Start with what matters and what matters most, right? Have you ever heard that book? I believe it's a Stephen Covey book, Big Rocks First, right? Have you ever heard that big rocks analogy? And so here's how it is. It's like, imagine I have this jar sitting here, right? And if I fill it first with sand, the small teeny things, and then I put in the pebbles, there's no room for the big rocks. And so what this basically means is those big rocks, those are your dream work, your purpose, the things that really matter towards your goals, right? Your priorities. And the sand, that's those scraps of chores that you can fit in just about anywhere. So you actually end up being able to fit in more into this jar if you start with the big rocks, then the pebbles, then the sand, because the sand starts settling in and finding their way among all those cracks, right? And that's what we're doing here when we're talking about finding our rhythm and fitting in those big rocks first and numbering it with a number 1. We're not actually making more time, though. We're just making better use of the time we already have. And so then the next time something new gets added to your calendar, here's one thing I want you to do. So like if it's a lunch invite or another volunteer opportunity, I want you to do something for yourself. I want you to pause. And I want you to actually give yourself 24 hours before saying yes or no if you can. And here's why. Because you're not saying no to the event in that moment when you say, I need time to think about it. You're saying yes to making sure that you have the margin to give that away without the burnout, the resentment, or any of that, right? You're saying yes to your purpose, yes to the dream that God has given you and placed in your heart. And when you protect that dream like this, and protect that time like it matters, you start feeling like it matters too, right? You walk through your day with more peace, more focus, more follow through. And so here's your reminder. You're the boss of your calendar. I always have to remind myself of that. But you don't have to wait for life to slow down to do anything. And you get to decide what gets to your best attention and energy. And you get to decide what gets to wait too. And so that simple shift, that's how you're going to make space for the life you actually are meant to live. Okay. Like I said, this is how high achievers do this. And so I know that I might have covered a lot today, but I don't want you to stress out about this because you don't have to overhaul your calendar overnight, right? Like this is about those small, doable shifts that actually fit into your real life and they help you make time so that you're able to fit that dream that God planted in your heart. And so here's what I want you to do. I want you to go grab that workbook in the Facebook group, right? It's going to walk you through that 48-hour time audit. It's going to help you spot those pockets of time that you didn't even know you had. And so if you're still feeling stuck or needing help finding your rhythm after doing that, shoot me an email. Michelle at Michelle Day Rose will set up a coaching session because I want to help you figure this out, right? And then, hey, if you felt like this episode helped you, please send it to a friend. Like we all need more time in our day, right? But next week, we're going to be talking about how to shift the way you see the woman in the mirror so that you can stop second guessing your worth and start showing up with that confidence that God intended for that big audacious dream, right? So if you've ever battled comparison or self-doubt or negative self-talk, this one's going to be for you. And we'll see you next week.